And you know, so this one is an instant rewind. Yes. And you know, so this one is an instant rewind. Yes. And you know, so this one is an instant rewind. Yes. And you know, so this one is an instant rewind. Yes. And you know, so this one is an instant rewind. Yes. And you know, so this one is an instant rewind. Yes. And you know, so this one is an instant rewind. Yes. And you know, so this one is an instant rewind. Yes. And you know, so this one is an instant rewind. Yes. And you know, so this one is an instant rewind. Yes. And you know, so this one is an instant rewind. Yes.
Yes, yes. Not afraid. I think I might have set everything up correctly. And we're live, baby! Sunday Scaries, y'all. How are you feeling? You got it. It's a short week. I know you're all stressed about, like, family and shit. Verdicts and juries, and just don't even... For once in your life, just have, like, a easy Thanksgiving. Go to these Friendsgivings, go to this Malcolm show, go to the Thanksgivings, do all that stuff. Take it easy, though. Not good for the heart. We're getting old enough that some of y'all could have heart attacks. All that tainted vitamin powder that we took in Iowa City. But anyway, we're mastering a Medicine Place tune today. This is a lot like All of a Sudden. I pitched in on that master. This one's going to be very similar in the sense and style. So a couple important things up front when I do mastering. First off, I'm not a professional. Don't take money for this. I'll refer you to Bukez or Whittler or Bob Mack over at Subvert Central Mastering. They'll, for under $100, those guys will give you like pearled masters. However, if you're a homie and you want to master like Malcolm, send me a message. So where I'm going with this is, I rely a lot on the data, and then you should also know my context. My context is I've got a monitor left, monitor right, and a 10-inch studio subwoofer below my desk. You'll notice no headphones. The mic will be a little more noisy, but I'm way more comfortable mastering this way. Some styles, I would sit further back, like way further back, and I'd also have headphones on doing A/B. I don't really do that for bass music primarily because this setup right here, I've kind of tried to mirror like some of my favorite mid-sized venues. So at least for what I'm making it, it's a pretty accurate representation of how it would sound live. So knowing that, let's check out our toolkit. First and foremost, you need Span. Span is this guy down here. Widler, Mr. Bill, Ahi, all of them, they recommend this. It's free. Once you get it set up, you can kind of pick out some very serious things that you start to look for during the mastering process. In particular, I look at true peak clippings. You want those well under 50 a track, hopefully 0. What that means is you've actually got something crossing the line from like true clipping on a digital standpoint. And that's something you typically want to avoid. Keep the sound boys from being mad at you. But keep in mind, referencing a video I did like literally back in 2012 about gain staging, that gain staging a live show, you've got a CDJ hopefully preventing hard clipping, a DJM preventing hard clipping, your sound boy certainly good enough to have a limiter in the mix, that's preventing hard clipping. So like I go back and forth with the boys on Space Base Discord quite often about this. Is clipping bad? Artistically, no. Like sonically, no, it's not bad. True peak clipping's kind of bad. I mean, like physically, they're bad for speakers. It's kind of like slapping a speaker around. Now, Malcolm, that's no roasting at all. Every single track I print before I master it has true peak clips. So like this will certainly be a hot boy, but it's normal. True peak clipping's absolutely normal. Usually you have to rein it in and go from there. So anyway, Spans are multi-band equalizer. And so you can see on here it's got a very distinctive scoop. I really like this scoop, and notice that these aren't linear down here. It's got our kind of problem frequencies from 100 to 200 hertz, and then from 1K to 2K. So those are the ones that I'm trying to keep an eye on, and Span, the way I have it set up, just kind of fattens those up so I can see them a lot easier. See, I really care about this, and I really care about that. Next, we've got Ulean loudness meter, free. It does everything you need. Everyone I know that matters uses this, so use this. And pretty much what we're looking at here is the LUFS, or true loudness value. Don't get into a debate with me right now about it. I know that's not like what it means, but it's what it means. You know what I'm saying? So next we've got tonal balance control. Tonal balance control is simply because it kind of gives you a good reference. Give the hype. If you believe the Ozone hype, they've gone out and done the work and done like machine learning over so many signatures that they ask people to submit, and they've determined that this is the ideal EQ curve for bass-heavy bass music. So do I believe it? No. However, I've been using it long enough for like a year or so that I kind of know where I am with respect to it. So quite often it tells me that my bass is a little too hot. That's okay. Go fuck yourself, tonal balance control. Low mids, usually it's right on track. You should listen to it there. Mid highs, yeah, same. It calls it high mid, which is kind of gross. I think I've ever heard it. High mid? Ever heard it be called mid highs, dude? Grow up. Anyway, I'm going to put my mic on mute so we can really bang this out. We're going to do a soft listen where I don't really tweak anything. Ozone's not on. OTT's not on. We don't have tube emulation. None of that bullshit. We're just going to go ahead and play the track through. I'm going to drink some of this and smoke some vaporizers. And then when it's over, we'll start making some tweaks. So on here, I might start pointing to stuff of note with my mouse. But otherwise, hang out with me, grab a water, make sure you stay hydrated. It's Sunday, it's scary, I know. But we'll get through this together. Without further ado, this is the Active Foo Wave by Medicine Place, also known as Malcolm.
world been waiting on, man. It's going down. We gonna let you know how we really come. Hey, Goose got me loose. Gone on patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in this zone line. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh, I'm about to act a fool, yeah. Goose got me loose. Gone on patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in this zone line. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh, I'm about to act a fool, yeah. Drunk tonight, just got paid. Pocket full of money, what? Okay, I'ma ball till I fall. What? Drink till I can't. Put it on my black card. I got money in the bank. Patrol on the chain, yeah. Drunk and goose. Oh, drink what you want. Go get loose. Like a fool till they cut the lights on. And we still ain't going home till all the liquor gone. I just don't give a fool. Standing on the table with the weed bottle. Drinking out the bottle. Motherfucker cup. I pour it in your mouth. Lean back, open up. Crunk ain't dead. You see the chain. And I'm the king, fool. You know my name. Party like a rock star. Oh, like a porn star. I don't give a damn. I don't got the whole bar. Goose got me loose. Go no patrol.
Okay, I know I said we'd listen all the way through, but a couple things I want to point out right now to pay attention for the back half that we're going to listen to here is that there is a very solid, Malcolm's really very clean bass. And so you'll notice, Malcolm, this is probably written in F or F sharp.
Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool.
So notice these peaks between F1 and F2, but then there's almost like a pure scoop between in that third octave. And so what I'm going to pay attention to during mastering is I like to keep the, like, sterile feels like a bad word to describe Malcolm's sub bass, but like it's a very distinctive part of his style where it's like Wookiee bass, raunchy bass with a little bit of distortion, but it's clean as fuck. Like it's like a Swiffer just sprayed you in the eyes. Like Mo, Larry, and holy shit, Larry, Mo, and Curly with a, but instead it was a Swiffer and they just spray you right in the face with mint, in a good way. And so that's what I try to preserve when I'm doing Malcolm mastering. I want to preserve that squeaky clean bass, but also make sure I can beef up that little gap that sits between the sub bass and the mid bass. Other than that, there is a little bit of sparkle that I'm going to dial back in the, I think it was 428 range. 428, about negative 36 decibels. Let's keep going.
Up in the zone line. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh, I'm about to act a fool, yeah. Goose got me loose. Gone on patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in the zone line. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh, I'm about to act a fool, yeah. Drunk ass mother, ass, throw your head up. Get drunk ass mother, ass, throw your head up. Get drunk ass mother, ass, hold your tanks up. Get drunk ass mother, ass, hold your tanks up. Lay back ass mother, ass, turn it bottle up. Lay back ass mother, ass, turn it bottle up. Throw them stacks up. Hey, right, what? Throw them stacks up. Hey, right, what? Goose got me loose. Gone on patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in the zone line. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh, I'm about to act a fool, yeah. Goose got me loose. Gone on patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in the zone line. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh, I'm about to act a fool, yeah.
I want to fuck with Malcolm and like add a goofy ass reverb boing tail at the end, but he's watching, so I fucking can't. But maybe after this, like when I render it, I'll add like fart. I'm right on the beat. He rendered this straight out of FL Studio. Big ups, Malcolm, FL gang. Okay, so class, what did we notice? It's very clean. You'll notice it's nice and sausagey. There is something right here every 4 to 8 bars that needs a little bit of a lawnmower, a soft clip. Let's check out what that is. Oh.
Hey, Ray, who's got me?
Okay, so it's an impact first hit kick. My rule of thumb with those is let them rip. So in this case, that's the one thing I absolutely would not send back to Malcolm. I do the same thing. The idea here is that it's almost a trick stolen from G. Jones and EEPROM, where the kick takes up the entire, for one beat, the kick takes up almost the entire frequency spectrum. And on a big system or in a car, that's mint. It just goes dunk, and then the whole sound comes back. That's pretty.
Yeah, who's got me?
Okay, so we're just doing a fast master today. We're not doing anything fancy or fucky. So I use the Ozone mastering wizard to like get started, to be honest. So we're gonna pick out a nice representative part of Malcolm's track, something usually pretty hot. I can dial back the mastering assistant. It's hard to like convince it that it wasn't listening to the loudest part though. So let's zoom out here. Look at this sausage. Sausage is big right about here. We've got some peppers and like onions and shit. Okay, yeah, you can tell because we've got hi-hats, we've got our big impact kick, we've got our tomatoes and mushroom and aioli sauce. Okay, so we're gonna try to remove a little bit of the buzz on those hi-hats to like balance the, remember we were talking about speed before, we're gonna balance that on the high end. Okay, so this is the part we're gonna feed to Ozone. Oh god. What are you doing? Okay, so this is my normal production template, but we're skipping all these sub buses. See them? We're gonna go straight to the string suite, which in this case right now is just gonna be Ozone. Honestly though, I do wanna add a touch of OTT. We're gonna do the OTT 4-bit. Now listen, it's gonna be blown out as fuck right away. Notice how A, I don't like that, and B, we're gonna dial it back. Ugh. Yuck.
I just don't give a fool. Standing on the table with the weed bottle. One drink till I can't.
Alright, so we got a little more sparkle off that. It almost acts like a pseudo soothe, which is mostly just a fun tongue twister. So now we're gonna feed it to Ozone. And what's important about, actually hold on. I didn't plan any of this video, so if you don't like it, F off. We're gonna come out here and check out the stereo. I think it's mostly stereo on the sub bass, but I want to be sure. So let's see if there's any difference. Now we've got full mono.
I just don't give a fool. Standing on the table with the weed bottle. One drink till I can't.
Actually wouldn't hurt to put that on at 60 hertz at least. And then for a nice bouncy boy like this, we can actually go in and save ourselves a little bit more bandwidth. We're gonna do a low cut brick wall, hard as frick. But we're gonna put it like stupid low. Like anything under 19, it's just find me a speaker that can represent that. Other than an extremely large system, which granted Malcolm will be playing those, but he wants the bandwidth right here, that notch right above. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying when we render this file, I would rather sacrifice a little bit of 18 hertz and below for a little more fidelity against the limiter at 18 hertz and above. Don't ask me why. Maybe it's spiritual, maybe it's magic. Maybelline, I don't care. Okay, so now, if you've been paying attention, we're ready to feed it to Ozone, which we've been doing the whole time, duh, obviously. Let's go ahead and pull up Ozone 8. It's going to eat up all my RAM and take a little bit. I click it a few times. It's temperamental. Who's not these days, though? Daylight savings time, am I right? So what you do is you make sure that the green light's on. I can't tell you how many times I've left it off, then come in here and turned on master. I'm like, yeah, I feel like this ain't right, because it tells you that it's like perfectly flat, and it is, but anyway. Oh god. Watch your ears.
I just don't give a fool. Standing on the table with the weed bottle. One drink till I can't put it on my black card. I got money in the bank, patrol on the chain, yeah. Crook and goose. Oh, drink what you want, go get loose. Like a fool to.
Okay, so students of the base weight would recognize that there's some important things here from a data standpoint that we should check out, verify, and use as we move forward. An old Flume bootleg was always called Test and Recognize. A fun, for those who didn't know, I took like a long 8-year, 10-year break, and I went into like finance and marketing and shit. And I'd always tell them, one of my favorite books from college was a book called Test and Recognize, and it's about digital marketing analytics. And in reality, it's just a Flume song that I was like super tripped out on once, called Test and Recognize, and anyway. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna go ahead and check out Ozone. What Ozone did is, let's break it down, because it's probably not apparent right away what steps just occurred. So it tried to read a very short signature of the song, data-wise, compare that to an average curve, and then spit out a differential curve. So that's what this is right here. So the good news, Malcolm, I hope you're still watching, is that according to Ozone, an isotope team, your entire track was pretty on the fucking money. They're saying that at 150, 175 hertz, could have been a little brighter. But remember, that's that third F octave I was talking about, and honestly, that's part of your style, so we're going to reset that one, fuck them. And I do agree the high end can be a little sparkly. I was going to dial that down, but it did a job anyway. So let's let the machine elves in the system take care of that. Dynamic EQ, so what's cool about this is dynamic EQ is like a compressor and EQ combined. It means that once this frequency passes a certain limit, we're going to go ahead and duck it down a certain degree. So over here, I think, yeah, -4 at a frequency of 152 with a Q of 2. So it's saying that this is ducking out that kick drum, that hot kick drum coming in. 642 is the sparkle on the hi-hat lows. 1.79 is the sparkle on the stereo hi-hat highs. 6 is that bleed that the equalizer had recognized. Last but not least, we've got the maximizer. This thing's important. You're going to go ahead and use the Ozone Maximizer. Do me a favor, always press the blue button. Press the blue button. Press the blue button. Remember, if we go full circle, we come back to span. We were talking about true peaks. True peaks are audio that, when represented as data, is impossible for a speaker to represent physically. And so we're trying to avoid those. You can uncheck this and just get shitloads of true peaks down here, or you can check it and it's going to try to suppress or smooth those off as best it can. The only reason you'd leave it off is if it's producing some really nasty artifacts. But honestly, I haven't heard that in a very long time, since like Ozone, I think 5, when it had the weird brighter interface. The other thing I'm going to do here is it always puts it on IRC4 transient. That's technically the best quality. However, I am very partial to IRC3 pumping, especially with regards to Malcolm music. So before I touch any other settings, let's go ahead and compare the LUFS, or the loudness of the track, before and after Ozone. So let's pull up Ulian loudness meter and turn off Ozone.
They cut the lights on and we still ain't going home till
-12, right? Ozone's going to give us some conservative gain here. I bet it kicks us up to like -8 maybe.
Like a fool till they cut the lights on and we still ain't
so I've been blathering way more than we need. Technically, the song's like pretty mastered already. The reason I'm reacting this way is that the Ozone Fast Master spit out a reasonable -6.7 master. And so I'm not really upset with that. I do think it can sound better, and we're going to dial it in. We're going to take another 10, 20 minutes together, bring it that extra way. But honestly, especially with Malcolm, we're looking for like a super peak. I'm not talking average. I'm talking peak of -4 LUFS. I want the average to be between like -5 and -8. The deeper tracks, you want more dynamics. At that point, -8 to -12 is nice. But on a big classic hip hop banger, bordering on like we don't have a rhythm sound here, but we want a rhythm master. For real, if a rhythm dude was going to chop this up in a banana suit or some dumb shit, we want the song to like smack next to it, because not everyone knows what those knobs at the top of the DJM do. It's gain. Sometimes you need it. I don't know. So anyway, pay attention. I'm going to dive in and enter the zone for like 3 minutes, and then I'll tell you what's going on here. Right?
Lights on, and we still ain't going home. Till party let the dawn. I just don't give a fool. Standing on the table with the weed bottle. One drink till I can't put it on my black card. I got money in the bank. Patrol on the chain, yeah. Drunk and goose. Oh, drink what you want. Go get loose. Like a fool till they cut the lights on, and we still ain't going home. Till party let the dawn. I just don't give a fool. Standing on the table with the weed bottle. One drink till I can't put it on my black card. I got money in the bank. Patrol on the chain, yeah. Drunk and goose. Oh, drink what you want. Go get loose. Like a fool till they cut the lights on, and we still ain't going home. Till party let the dawn. I just don't give a fool. Standing on the table with the weed bottle. One drink till I can't put it on my black card. I got money in the bank. Patrol on the chain, yeah. Drunk and goose. Oh, drink what you want. Go get loose. Like a fool till they cut the lights on, and we still ain't going home. Till party let the dawn. I just don't give a fool. Standing on the table with the weed bottle. One drink till I can't put it on my black card. I got money in the bank. Patrol on the chain, yeah. Drunk and goose. Oh, drink what you want. Go get standing on the table with the weed bottle. One drink till I can't put it on my black card. I got money in the bank. Patrol on the chain, yeah. Drunk and cut the lights on, and we still ain't going home. Till party let the dawn. I just don't give a fool. Standing on the table with the weed bottle. One drink till I can't put it loose. Like a fool till they cut the lights on, and we still ain't going home.
Okay, so what we did there is we're doing stylistic notches. These are very non-important. So what you do is you put Pro Q2 into, I know what this is called. Pre and post mode, I guess? No, I've got it in like freeze. Yeah, freeze mode. So I really enjoy freeze mode, especially for mastering, because it starts to display the aggregate, especially stereo side. So you can see the different shading, damn it. So you can see the difference in stereo on the high end. Notice that, remember, we monoed our sub bass. This is still our hard shelf, so this is my utility EQ, essentially. And what's going on here is that it's doing our average and showing an aggregate, the frequency build up over time. Build up over time, honestly, kind of doesn't matter, because if you think about buildup over time, you're like applying a literary concept with scientific in analog, like the opposite of an analog, because like, yes, there's frequency buildup over time for like milliseconds as the speaker itself is fluctuating in its cabinet, but beyond that, is it really building up? Other than like a live band, that concept doesn't really exist. So that's the grain of salt you have with this, but I like it because as a song progresses, you can start to pick out things that tend to get louder, or when there is frequency buildup over time in context of a song length. And so I'm not talking about a slice of time, a slice of the song. I'm talking about while the song gets louder, Malcolm's probably going to use more hi-hats than he does. And as those hi-hats increase in volume, this graph right here, which is, again, the average or the aggregate of the song so far, it's going to build up and be higher here. And so the cool thing about this feature is you can come out here and literally click, see how my cursor comes up? You can click on this peak. And then remember what I did is I boosted the Q high up and then turned on the solo. Let's do that again for this one, and let's see if I fuck it up or not. So what we're going to do is check to see what I ducked here. I've got this tiny little notch. Why? Let's check it out. So this is probably A, making your dogs go crazy, B, really hurting your own ears, and C, this is the soloed slice of the spectrum that I kind of picked out, and it's just a small nuisance frequency that, depending on how cheap the live system is, could be really annoying, especially depending on the angle you're sitting at the bar. It's a little more smooth, like Hidden Valley butter and Aunt Jemima syrup on pancakes. Oh man, I didn't write this. Anyway, so let's check out what we've got so far. Let's check out the stack. We've got our utility here. This is low cut brick wall. Again, we're sacrificing the super low end for more fidelity on the mid range. And to be clear, that's not like a wave or an MP3. That's just a limiter thing because I'm a douche and I run my limiter really hot. Next, we're cutting the low side. Everything below 65 hertz is getting monoed because in this particular banger, we don't have any sorts of weird like Foley or cinematic breakdowns that do a lot on that low end spectrum. If we were, and especially with a lot of the lower dudes, I say do not mono the hard solo, do not mono the hard stereo your sub. Do it for your sub bass, yes, but on the master render, don't do that because I'm sure you've got cinematic elements that legitimately you do want to hit the low end and go stereo. Everyone tells me, Charlie, most clubs are running mono racks. Yeah, they were up until the Voids and the Element 5s and the Function 1s. Then also, one thing I want to remind everyone is, what do you take to work every day? And if you're in the Midwest, you're driving. You're driving a car, right? So what's the stereo configuration of a car? Are there 2 woofers? Yes, there's probably 4 or more. Where are they located? On your left and right. Wait, so you're telling me that one of the most common areas for people to listen to music needs stereo sub bass? And I'm not talking about stereo sub bass. I'm talking about stereo sub elements. They can be noticed, especially in a car. So you might be missing out on like that whole spectrum of holy tastiness. Don't recognize that sort of. Moving on though, we have our OTT, which is just doing a little bit of taming, believe it or not, the way we have it set up. And also bringing out some more of that mid-lows. Next, we've got Ozone packing some punches here. Ozone is doing a small bit of equalization, rolling off a touch of the high end. Dynamic EQ picked out some problem frequencies. Honestly, we addressed this one. Wow, I picked that one out almost exactly. So we're going to put that one up and still let it kick in. But I'd want it to kick in to a much lesser degree because I handled that manually further up on the first FabFilter Q dose. Next, we've got an imager. I did not talk about this one yet. Malcolm's got pretty good stereo width on his tunes, but I always like to fatten up the high end a little bit. Again, this is super redundant. We monoed almost all of these. We left the mid-highs alone. Those really, honestly, if you start messing with the stereo image on your mid-high, mid-lows, you're in for like a pretty bad time. I don't know why, I don't know how, I just know that it happens. It's like drinking Smirnoff Ice and then going to get sushi. You're going to get the shits, dude. Band number 3, that one I threw up to 30. Sometimes with my own stuff, the super cinematic shit, I'll throw band 4 up to 60. Now what we're talking about here is think of it as a 4-band EQ, and it's just a stereoizer sort of. Let me play the track, and you can see that we do have some nice graphs here with respect to the stereo signal. During mastering, I do try to make sure that it's primarily not only in this slice of pie, but right on this line, right down the middle. You will notice stuff coming out here, and maybe we'll check out one of my own tracks later, because I use a shitload more stereo space than most folks. And it's a lot harder to rein in, is my point there. So let's go ahead and check out the stereo signal here.
Go get loose, like a fool till they cut the lights on, and we still ain't going home till all the liquor gone. I just don't give a fool, standing on the table with the.
Okay, so that was tight, because one thing I like to point out is that from a cinematic standpoint, a lot of newer producers discount the degree at which you can fuck with the listener's ears. So let's listen to that back again, and this time, for real, if you're listening along, like, I don't care if you make music or not, pay attention to this graph right here. What element do you hear that goes super wide like this?
Go get loose, like a fool till they cut the lights on, and we still ain't going home till all the liquor gone. I just don't give a fool, standing on the table with the weed bottle. One drink till I can't put it on my black card. I got money in the bank, patrol on the chain, yeah, smoke and goose. Oh, drink what you want, go get loose, like a fool till they cut the lights on, and we still ain't going home till all the liquor gone. I just don't give a.
Okay, so it's right before there's these small breaks, phrasing, where it's vocal and snare. And those almost always, if you think about it, the snare's mid-high range. It's got reverb on it. That should be stereo. Same with the vocal. So when you're looking at this from a mastering standpoint, think about it. Now go ahead and we're future tripping here, bro, but walk with me. This is important. Think that you're at the Black Box in Denver, right? You're on their Function combo system. That one, I do believe, runs in stereo. So imagine that you're listening to the song, and we've got this nice fat wall of sound, mostly mono. Then the one cinematic stereo element is that snare hit with that vocal coming. So you've got nice mono, and then just all of a sudden, hey, flashing from left to right, and then you're back in it again. So big ups to Malcolm for doing that. But also anyone watching along, start to recognize those sort of things, because it's super cheap, easy way to like get a lot of length out of.
Go get loose, like a fool till they cut the lights on, and we still ain't going home till all the liquor gone. I just don't give a fool, standing on the table with the weed bottle. One drink till I can't put it on my black card. I got money in the bank, patrol on the chain, yeah, smoke and goose. Oh, drink what you want, go get loose, like a fool till they cut the lights on, and we still ain't going home till all the liquor gone. I just don't
Malcolm, what do you think so far, if you're still here? I think we're getting pretty close. There's something in the highs that I might want to dial back in, but we've just been listening to this one chunk of the song, and I want to run it through a little more. But loudness-wise, I think we're real close. It could be a touch louder, maybe. The -5 lufs itself is pretty... Let's run it back. Jesus Christ. Oh, that scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
Yes, sir. Y'all know what the world been waiting on, man. It's going down. We gon' let you know how we make it come. Hey, Goose got me loose. Go no patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in the zone line. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh, I'm about to act a fool, yeah. Goose got me loose. Go no patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in the zone line. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh, I'm about to act a fool, yeah. I'm drunk tonight, just got paid. Pocket full of money, okay. I'ma ball till I fall, drink till I can't. Put it on my black card, I got money in the bank. Patrol on the chain, yeah. Drunk and goose, drink what you want, go get loose. Act a fool till they cut the lights on, and we still ain't going home till all the liquor gone. I just don't give a fool. Standing on the table with the weed bottle, drinking out the bottle. Motherfucker, cook, I pour it in your mouth, lean back, open up. Crunk ain't dead, you see the chain, and I'm the king, fool. You know my name. Party like a rock star, like a porn star. I don't give a damn, I don't got the whole bar. Goose got me loose, go no patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in the zone line. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh, I'm about to act a fool, yeah. Goose got me loose, go no patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in the zone line. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh, I'm about to act a fool, yeah. Goose got me loose, go no patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in the zone line. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh, I'm about to act a fool, yeah. Drunk ass motherfucker, throw your head up. Get drunk ass motherfucker, throw your head up. Get drunk ass motherfucker, hold your tanks up. Get drunk ass motherfucker, hold your tanks up. Lay back ass motherfucker, turn your bottle up. Lay back ass motherfucker, turn your bottle up. Throw them stacks up, hey, right, what? Throw them stacks up, hey, right, what? Goose got me loose, go no patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in the zone line. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh, I'm about to act a fool, yeah. Goose got me loose, go no patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in the zone line.
I always forget to unmute the mic. Fucking shit. Okay, so I think we're pretty close. There are a couple things I would like to address. If you're listening on a high fidelity system, you're noticing a little bit of extra sparkle in the highs, the mid highs. We're going to take care of that right now. However, this comes with a disclaimer that I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. However, might not be able to A/B it or show you. What we're going to be doing here is we're going to be adding Soothe. I'm a big proponent of Soothe. I speak the gospel of Bob Mack a lot at Subvert Mastering, like $65 American. They'll do incredible jobs. They do DJ Shadow and EPROM, G Jones, Shades, that kind of shit. I sent him a track once and he sent me a 20-minute wave file back of him just talking over it, saying like in a British accent, like, your bass is too loud. That was German, not British, but you get the point. And where I'm going with this is Bob Mack actually has a bunch of presets in Soothe, Oak Sound Soothe, and I'm a big proponent of that. So on Malcolm stuff, I'm actually going to slap 2 soothes on there. Soothes, soothies, soothies, sethies, seths. Need to swallow after that. On the master channel. I'm almost out of shit on the master channel, so I might have to route it to a sub just for the soothe. And the second soothe is just going to be there to reduce a little bit of the sparkle, smooth that out. And then last but not least, I'm going to put a high CPU intensive Gullfoss on there. Something super important. I can show you that right now at least. And then I'll disable it. I fucked this up again. We can get rid of this. Bye. So the thing about Gullfoss is that it does a really good job on mid highs and high highs. But it does a super shit job on low end. Like a super shit job. Do not use Gullfoss on your low end, please. Christian, yeah, yo, what's up? Dude, Bob Mack is the man. That's M-A-C-C if you're Googling it. Bob Mack has a music blog that actually is one of the few, like, written from a mastering engineer in context of bass music, which is really cool. Because if you're like me or Dallas or any of the other, like, music nerds, the literature out there is just really bad. And not bad, but like it's written for trance music or like written acoustic guitar and shit. Malcolm, so the thing about that is you mouse over it on the rack and then you just use your scroll wheel. So it needs to have focus. So I'm not dragging it. I'm just using scroll wheel, which is pretty sick. It took me 8 years to figure that out. I think the manual tells you when the shortcuts were added, and it's actually really degrading to go in there and you're like, damn, they must have just added this. This is life-changing. And then you look and it's like, this has been a feature since 2006. And you're like, well, fuck me, right? Like, come on, dude. What are we doing here? But anyway, so back to Gullfoss. And yes, Christian, we're using Soothe, but we're going to use it. In my case, I think I usually use it after Gullfoss, after Soothe, everything's smooth. Soothe before Gullfoss. Go fuck yourself, I think is what the marketing material said. So what we're going to do here now is I can technically get what I need out of span elsewhere. So let's just go ahead and fuck span. We're going to move Ulean down, tonal down, Pro L2. I did add a Pro L2 on there. So that's something I haven't talked about yet. The Pro L2 is just catching anything that got missed by Ozone. Remember we were talking about the True Peak limiter on Ozone earlier? And how True Peaks are bad, span, blah, 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 blah. True Peaks are bad. They are bad. Clipping, not so bad. True Peaks, bad. And what was happening here is we were still getting, I think, like 2 True Peaks through and quite a bit of clippings through both this True Peak attenuator, which is crazy, and this True Peak. It tells me 2 things. A, we're right on the edge of the amount of loudness we can push without additional distortion, TDD and bullshit. And 2, we're going to need to catch these. And by catch these, I mean we're going to have to literally do staging of limiters and compressors. And concept that if we're taking the time, let's go ahead and talk about it right now. I do want to mention, if you're watching on Facebook right now, in about 9 minutes, Facebook's going to cut off my stream. They cut it off at 1 hour. If you want to keep watching, check me out on twitch.tv/BayGray or YouTube. It's easier for me to like keep track of just a couple of chats. I'm just mentioning that because the stream is probably going to go down on Facebook. Don't worry, I'm still here. But anyway, so let's go ahead and talk about the idea of gain staging in context of mastering. A lot of people don't care. You should think about it. So what's happening here is that Malcolm's already done a mixdown. A mixdown usually happens, there's 3 phases in electronic song production these days, and releasing. One of the things is he's doing actual layout. So he does the layout, the composition is usually what folks call this, the composition, the idea, all of that. A lot of people combine that with their mixdown phase. So Malcolm, I think in particular, does this a lot of newer bass producers because it saves you a lot of time. A lot of people way back when used to do their composition and just blow up the whole fucking thing, then do a mix down, then essentially blow it up again and re-stem it out and do a stem master. We don't do that anymore. So you'll notice that Malcolm gave me a wave. So that means he went ahead and did his composition. He exported very high quality wave. Composition has already been mixed down to a significant degree. Notice the only thing on there, my only note early on, was that those kick drums came in a little hot. I would have sent that back in the mix down, but stylistically I like it, and it's already been mixed down, so everything else other than that is okay. That limit, you definitely just take it to phase number 3, mastering. That's where I come in. Mastering's just smoothing the butter on it, and then making sure it's as loud as fucking possible without distortion, within a degree, because you want to maintain some dynamics. Don't at me or talk to me about any of that bullshit. I don't want to talk about Metallica and Rick Rubin ruining the loudness wars. We can do that some other day. I just got a new mic and a chair, so I can have Malcolm sit here and we'll just like get super baked and talk about how Rick Rubin ruined music. And by ruined music, I mean I love that dude so much. He's got such a good outlook on life. Beard is epic. He's got Welcome to Shangri-La, I think, is his show on HBO or whatever. It's really worth the watch. So anyway, we're coming back to Gullfoss. Remember I said the lows on Gullfoss are dog shit. They are dog shit. If I catch you using Gullfoss on your lows, I'm going to uninstall the cracked version of Gullfoss you are no doubt using. So, notice on here, it's red bar. I didn't know you could do this. I had Gullfoss for like months. I didn't know that you could literally click here, drag it to the right. So now we're just saying that we don't give a shit about fucking low end with regards to Gullfoss. Sorry guys, I haven't been paying attention to the Twitch chat. What's up? Grimworks making the switch from Facebook. Then Kilo, of course. Derek, love you. Welcome. What's cracking, everyone? Again, Facebook, I'm sorry. Your stream's about to go down soon, but twitch.tv/Gray. I'll still be there. Anyway, let's go ahead and I don't have Soothe on, so I think we can check out Gullfoss without smashing my CPU too much. It's at 80 though, with nothing playing. RIP. So Gullfoss is just kind of one of those newfangled black boxes that makes it sound better. That Boy in a Band dude, I think on YouTube, has some pretty cool tutorials on it. The dude with luxurious long blonde hair. Definitely check it out. I'm not going to explain it to you. I usually just keep these both at less than 20 and dial it in. Let's go ahead and dial it in together. Okay, Gullfoss is doing exactly what I want it to do. Notice it caught some of those mid-highs, smoothed them out a little bit. And then one other thing I wanted to mention is that more and more we're playing on boutique sound systems, and this sounds stupid, but it's real, and mastering engineers need to get their head out of their ass and talk about this. Because rumor has it that if you go out to Black Box, the system's actually biased slightly towards sub bass, which is a good thing, granted. So classic dubstep's going to sound pearled. But the newer dubstep that already has a supreme bias towards sub bass might be a little too much. So one of the tips I've always heard from Ahi and the gang is that in span you want that negative 30 decibel meter to barely be breached. On this one, it's barely touching it. Usually I'd have it right above it. This one I'm having it barely touch it because we have these vocals, these classic rap vocals on top, and it's going to suck in that space on the high end. So what I'm talking about here is that, again, throw it back to your ideal environment. We're sitting there at Black Box. Keep in mind the Black Box sounds perfectly standing around, standing still, sound experiment, stoned, eating Wahoo's fish tacos, and we're about to play the track. So we've got our sub bass dialed in perfectly. Now we have our vocals. Vocals will be tops to low. That's why it's really nice that Malcolm has these vocals hot in the mix. System like that, it's gonna transfer all of sound fucking perfectly. So, like on a system like Red Rocks, honestly, you usually have another dial in. It works. For us, we're dial in our masters for Black Box system, systems, 5 systems, widespread. Got a nice function. Got a couple of. Want to make sure that you high quality tracks on those. Go ahead and check it out later in the track. Definitely heard my CPU start to dial. Bear with me. I can get into it. Okay. Yeah, I think my mic was a little fucked up. Thank you, Kilo. I have a gate on this, and it's all... I use it for work, and it's all, like, fucked, because I keep switching between my work voice and my stream voice, baby. Facebook, your stream's about to go down. Twitch.tv/ObeyGray. Everyone else, stick with me. Malcolm, you are still here, I believe. Tell me either in a private message or in the chat what you think so far. I think it's pretty close. If anything, it might be a little hot. I might take Golfos off. Don't let me forget everyone else to... I'm just going to fucking do this now. Let's go ahead and set up Soothe. And then take it off. Because at least if we're going to stunt on stream, I can't have this shit on. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause, yeah, right now, look at my CPU bar up here. For the Ableton folks, this bar up here is like how much RAM and memory I've got left. Good God. So, yeah, Christian, like I was talking about earlier, it's kind of hard to find them. But if you come out here and then go down to Master and scroll all the way down, look. Mastering Jesus himself is there. Right here. Bob Mac. So, Subnote Tamer is a really nice curve. Reduce Harmonics, Cleaner Sub. Also nice curve. They're kind of synonyms, homonyms, homonyms, homies. They're homie presets. So anyway, what we're gonna do here is reduce harmonics, because my mastering process tends to actually create harmonics. Remember, if you've stuck with us the full hour at the beginning, we were talking about how Malcolm has super fat F1 range, super fat F2 range, F3 range. However, it's nice that he has a clean F3 range because that's where you get the nasty buildup of harmonics. So what I've done is I've, after the fact, recreated harmonics via the mastering process in that gap, but then we also want to reduce the harmonics a little after the fact to ensure that we still have that clarity on those systems like Black Box. And then the other thing I've kind of ignored is we're in Iowa, fam. Quite often we're going to be playing on systems that have 12-inch, 15-inch, 18-inch, or legitimately 15-inch subwoofers, and that's all. And so we want to make sure that if you were to slice this track off at 200 hertz, would it still slap? It needs to, because in some of these cornfields, we need these tracks to still be slapping. Whether you're banging this out on the John Deere with the satellite TV, dude, they got DirecTV for real in the cab now. Or if you're just banging it out on the Function Ones down in Des Moines. I want to... Malcolm, we got to play that venue, dude. Anyway, so what we're doing is we're setting up Soothe here. We've gone ahead and done Reduce Harmonics, Cleaner Sub, and then we're just going to do a general one on here. I don't know if it's witchcraft or spiritual or whether or not it does anything, but you can see that it loads with the curve. I just leave the curve where it is, and then I don't touch it again. And then this one, we're also going to, crank the quality. So I have to turn all that shit off to make sure that it doesn't die on stream. Now we're going to run it back just a couple more times. Hang out with me. Let's smoke a little vaporizer, whatever your flavor is. And then I'll try to turn these on, or maybe we'll take a smoke break, render it, turn these on, then render it, and go from there. So, I always feel bad like cutting mic out, but watch me smoke and dance while we listen to this. I'll pull this shit back up so we can watch some stuff. Malcolm, this song bangs. I don't know if I've said that yet. You're probably just sitting there geeking out or like horrified at the dumb shit I'm saying. But God bless your heart. If you've never met Malcolm, do it. He's one of my few friends that like literally crosses over almost all of my friend circles. It's very strange to the point that he just needs to get into marketing. And like if I work with Malcolm during my day job, it's all my friends. But anyway, I'm going to mute my mic. Go ahead and grab a water, stand up, stretch. We're going to play this through and see if there's anything else you want to tweak. Because it's important during the mastering process, even a fast master, we're trying to do this in 90 minutes or less, to listen to it a few times. If this was real, I would literally like walk around the room, stand in the corner, figure out the bass traps. One of my favorite tricks legitimately is to play my song, my neighbors fucking hate me, and then like go stand over there or go stand in the garage or go stand on my front step, and you'll notice these weird harmonics. Like the doorknob on my front door perfectly picks up when a subnote is like gonna sound a little boxy. I don't know what it is, but I've noticed that if my doorknob rings when my volume's above 40, that means that when I play my music on a smaller system, it's gonna sound boxy, and the cabinet itself is gonna be like wow 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 wow. And I hate that. I hate that shit. Like spongy bass, dude. A few of you know what I'm talking about, but if you don't, find a small venue, go and sit on the subwoofer. We're not being sexual here tonight, fam. I'm serious. I spent like years where at my own shows, I just went and like sat on the subwoofers for most of the show. Soundboy might get mad at you, but for real, until you can feel it in your arse, you have no idea what the sub response is. If I understand correctly, Subpack literally productized it. That is what a Subpack is. You know what I'm saying? Like you're sitting on a subwoofer. Bass is just movement of air. So keep that in mind when you're mastering. I should be doing all of that. That's my asterisk. I'm just going to sit here and get baked instead. So cheers. Let's do this.
What the world been waiting on, man? It's going down. We gon' let you know how we make it come. Hey, Red, who's got me loose? Yo, no patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in the zone line. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh, I'm about to act a fool, yeah. Who's got me loose? Yo, no patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in the zone line. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh, I'm about to act a fool, yeah. Drunk tonight, just got paid. Pocket full of money, what? Okay, I'ma ball till I fall. What? Drink till I can't. Put it on my black card. I got money in the bank. Patrol on the chain, yeah. Drunk and goose. Oh, drink what you want.
Can anyone guess what I'm about to say? There's something that's bugging me here. I can get one more decibel of clean gain out of this fucking shit. I swear. I swear I could do it. I don't even need it up. I need it up. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Shut up.
Go get loose. like a fool till they cut the lights on. Every
Okay, so in my mastering chain, I use a maximizer and a limiter. You might be saying, Charlie, what's the difference? We're not going to talk about that right now. You should just know that functionally, they are the same in this instance. So you'll notice that I have a much tighter tolerance on my limiter than I do on my maximizer. What I could do is I could fuck with this a lot to give me more room here, but I'm not going to do that. Remember, I said I want more gain. Pretty sure I can hand out some more gain here, but between these two limiters, which one has more gain to give? If you said the third limiter, Pro L2, you're correct, but then in that case, I would want to add a fourth limiter, no joke, to catch the hard peaks coming off of this one. So it's a fast master. I don't really want to do that shit. Let's go ahead and jump to our second best option. Our second best option is the maximizer, because we have this much distance here between our ceiling and our threshold and our floor. The vintage limiter, however, we're pretty smacked there. It's just there to add a squeak extra gain. Honestly, I'm going to adjust the maximizer here, and then I'm going to have to readjust the limiter to make up for the fuckery that I'm about to do on the maximizer. So check this out.
alright, what you want? Y'all get loose like a fool till they cut the lights on. Every still ain't going home. Still falling like a dog. I just don't give a fool. Standing on the table with the weed bottle, drinking out the bottle, motherfucker. Cook, I pour it in your mouth, lean back, open up. See the chain, and I'm the king, fool. You know my name. Party like a rock star, like a porn star. I don't give.
Okay. So you'll notice there that before our average integrated LUFS was between -8 and -7, which is fine. Malcolm is rightfully picky in the sense that he wants it truly. When he says he wants it loud, it's between -4 and -6 clean LUFS. I cannot stress clean LUFS enough. It sounds conceited to say, but like figure out what clean sounds like to you, and then make sure that your LUFS are clean. I've heard a lot of people that take the idea of soft clipping and run with it. Soft clipping makes your track sound great until you soft clip it too much. Then it just sounds so bad. It hurts my soul when I hear an overly soft clipped kick. However, if you soft clip it, soft clip it perfectly, soft clip it perfectly, soft clip it perfect. That's a good one. Send that to Ron Burgundy. Anyway, we got our LUFS out of this. So I noticed we have some new viewers that may not have seen the whole thing, so I kind of want to recap real quick. I'll make it fast. I talk fast. I had a yerba mate today. At the top family, we have a Pro Q2. We're going ahead and sacrificing 18 hertz and below for a little more fidelity against our limiters. These are our nuisance frequencies. Ozone picked up on these. Gullfoss picked up on these. Charlie picked up on these. So we're going to go ahead and touch them. Not touch them. We're going to not massage them. We're going to adjust them. Holy shit. Just mod music. That is a very good question. I'm going to Google the definition to you, mainly because I don't want to be wrong, and then I'm going to describe it like how I understand it. Right. Okay. So hard clipping is literally saying at this threshold, we're going to slice it off. It's flat. It's done. We're going to cut off the frequency here. It's going to distort. Hard clipping, you'll notice in FL Studio, literally produces like ouchy frequencies. Imagine you're in a Grand Prix 1997 and your friend started playing Little John's first mixtape. I guarantee it was hard clipping. Soft clipping you can get away with a lot more because it's got more of a curve on it. So hard clipping got a frequency coming up, and then once we hit the threshold, we're saying, fuck you, guy, you're out of the club. Soft clipping, we're saying once you hit the threshold, all right, guy, we're going to put your arm out of the club. Then as you get louder, we're going to start putting your face out of the club. Then as you get even louder, we're going to start throwing like nuts in your legs. And then finally your toes and your knockoff Sperry's. That'd be the best way I can describe it. I should, another disclaimer, I'm super self-taught in this regard. So that's why I try to always Google the definition, so I'm telling you inaccurate information, and then my high ass can like fill in the gaps with what I understand afterwards. So again, I want to be clear, soft clipping is a great weapon. I don't use it on Malcolm stuff, mostly because he's inadvertently soft clipped a lot of it ahead of time. Buquez Finest has some great words and tutorials, I think on his Patreon or Discord or somewhere. Check that out if you're super interested in clipping lifestyle. Buquez doesn't stream much anymore, but he's definitely part of the clipping church, the soft clip church. G clip, free clip, and S clip, I think, are some really good ones.
All right.
Shout out to Sigkill in the chat. Sigkill, I don't know if it's going to kill your link, but you should drop a link in there. Actually, it might let me drop links. Sigkill is one of the dudes from the Space Base server. Makes some gnarly music. I think this is your Spotify, right? My bot might kill that link, but anyway, I try to shout out the homies. Sigkill knows this stuff. He'll probably know the definition more than I would. So, also shout out Kilo while we're at this, while we're doing shout outs. Hold on. He does a up and coming bass podcast, Now What's on the Hennies. And there's actually some really wild sets, and I'm not just saying that because I'm on there, but there's quite a few, for real, check that link out. There's quite a few in-depth interviews and very intimate sets with artists that like have already blown up. For example, Seek Dub's on here 1 month ago, good lord. Or are on the way to blowing up. Like Soup on here, Thisbe on here, Risik on here. I just ordered a Risik t-shirt yesterday. Circadian Riff just found one of his stickers in my shoes. I have a weird feeling that's not an accident. But yeah, my mix on there is pretty serious. You should definitely go listen to those. In the meantime, let's go ahead and run this whole thing back one more time. I keep interrupting myself. We have the gain. What we're going to be watching here this time is this Lufs. I'm aiming for -6.4 on the hot parts of the drop. On the drop downs, the comebacks, the bridge, the whatever you want to call it, interlude, I kind of want to see -12 for dynamics reasons. I don't think we're going to get there. I bet it's -8 to -6. We'll let it go. Otherwise, let's go ahead and check this out. And then keep an eye on tonal balance control. I haven't talked about this much, but tonal balance control, remember, is our barometer for our general EQ curve. We want it to stick within these blue slices. If the white line's in the blue slice, you're good to go. If the white line's above the blue slice, that means in Isotope's professional opinion, you've got too much frequency there, and you're a dog shit producer who needs to uninstall everything. So let's make sure that we don't do that.
What the world been waiting on, man? It's going down. We gon' let you know how we make it come. Hey, Red, who's got me loose? Yo, no patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in the zone line. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh.
Okay, so that was another important playthrough. Because that time I noticed that on this, I was paying attention to tonal balance control, and I've been neglecting it, like a flower who's been unwatered. And if you guys were paying attention to what I said, we need to keep it between the blues, right? And on here, it's telling me that the sub bass wasn't quite hitting that on the drop when I wanted it to. And so I think that the song is a big fat slapper, but I want to make sure that the sub bass rings out nice. So what I did is I added a nice fat Q, 1.659, on the F sharp 2 octave. One of my cheat codes for verifying this sort of thing is, let's find our soothe. This is our factory soothe, so remember that. We're going to go ahead and kill that motherfucker for now. And we're going to add a, no, not that one. My favorite is ladder filter. Jesus, it was right under my mouse. So I'm going to turn this on, and this is just, I like the ladder filter because it reminds me a lot of the classic Zone or DJM filters. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to go ahead and crank the entire thing. We got to move this down. Way down. We're going to crank the entire thing down just to listen to the subs. You want to make sure they're nice and clean. Here it comes. Let's check out the deep sub. Now let's A/B it against that equalizer I was doing. You can hear that we're adding a little bit more pressure with the equalizer, but we're right on the edge. We're right on the edge of like too much pressure after the fact. So what that translates to in English is, I think that's as far as we can push it, and I think that's going to be just okay. Because if we come out here to this curve, remember we want to stay in the blue. You can switch from broad mode to what I call nerd mode or fine mode, and fine mode will let us see like how much and where in the curve we're off. So let's go ahead and listen to this again. Turn off the format filter and see what we think.
What the world been waiting on, man? It's going down. We gon' let you know how we really come. Hey, Red Goose got me loose. Yo, no patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in the zone. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh, I'm about to act a fool, yeah. Goose got me loose. Yo, no patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in the zone. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh, I'm about to act a fool, yeah. Drunk tonight, just got paid. Pocket full of money, what? Okay, I'ma ball till I fall. What? Drink till I can't. Put it like a black card. I got money in the bank. Patrol on the.
Alright, so I don't know if it's ducking the music. I hope it is. But notice this notch right here. So this notch right here, I hope it sticks around for a little bit. That's what we were talking about that signature Medicine Place bass. That's what makes it so nice and clean. But keep in mind that on smaller systems, there it goes. That curve is going to be the entirety of our sub bass signal. So in summary, that's why this little push right here is so important, because it kind of makes sure that we get that to come out of the mix a little bit. I haven't checked my phone in forever. Oh god. Oh god. I have a MIDI controller right here, and every time I put something down on it, it triggers whatever's active, but like 9 octaves lower. So like sometimes I'll be making a mix with like a 90-minute fucking file, and I'll press like F0, and then I'll go like do chores, and I come back and I'm like, what the fuck? What is playing right now? And it's like, let the bass cannon kick it. Anyway, so now let's go ahead and listen to the back half. That's all we have left to check. And then I think it might be time to render. We'll take a hydration break. And then I have it in me to show you guys maybe like one of my projects, just to show you the composition side. I think Malcolm wanted to see that if he's still around. And I haven't opened any of my files in a long time, so I'm kind of curious. So let's listen to this one more time. I'll slap Soothe on there. We'll take a render break, and then we'll check out one of my tracks. So from the top, let's just watch.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Going down. Y'all know what What the world been waiting on, man? It's going down. We gon' let you know how we win. Come. Hey. Who's got me loose? Yo, no patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in the zone. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh, I'm about to act a fool, yeah. Who's got me loose? Yo, no patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in the zone. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. I'm about to act a fool, yeah. Drunk tonight, just got paid. Pocket full of money, okay. I'ma ball till I fall, drink till I can't. Put it on my black card, I got money in the bank. Patrol
All right. My CPU tried taking a shit at the end there, but joke's on it. Haha. We shat on the CPU. So now we're going to add Soothe. The ironic thing is quite a bit of what we just listened to is going to change ever so slightly. What we're going to do here is I've added Soothe back. Ignore it. That's a bug in FL Studio. Notice how I click it and it says kilohertz formant filter, but it's actually Soothe. We're working on it. I sent them an email. They've got to fix in the code. Soothe 2, this is our subharmonics. Gullfoss, we're turning that bad boy back on with a tame and a recover. Right there. Notice how my CPU is now at 98. In fact, there's a small chance you might not even be able to hear my voice very well. So what we're going to do is I'm going to run a short bumper here. It's probably going to be loud in volume while I render. Then we'll listen to the render and I'll show you one of my projects. So watch your ears, and sorry for the 10-second loop that you're about to hear for like 2 minutes or less, hopefully way less. Here you go.
Yeah, I'm still about temps. Don't watch the hype.
Con los terroristas.
Next time.
Con los terroristas.
And do the Harlem Shake.
Next time. Next time. Next time. Next time.
Con los terroristas.
All right. That allergy medicine really really be hitting these days. You know? Okay. Where were we? So now we're going to do the metaverse. Fuck you, Mark Zuckerberg. What we're doing here is we're reopening my template, primarily because I want to see all the same stuff we had before, but we've already printed Soothe and Gullfoss and all the other plugins. So we gained back all that CPU. Notice how my CPU up there is 17. Let's go ahead and drag in our file. Bingo bongo. I like to do a waveform check. Does it look nice and sausagey? Yes. Is there much dynamics? I didn't promise dynamics. Then let's go ahead and bring up our monitoring suite. Of course, we've got span. Never turn our back on you, baby. Tunnel balance control. You lean. Put you down here. And then Ganja White Knight quite often uses something called Insight. Let's go ahead and try to see if my CPU can handle it. Their CPU is fucking stacked. There it is. Okay. So there's a few cool layouts in here. We want the dope one. How come it's not labeled dope one? Where's the dope one? There it is. Oh fuck, my computer's torched. So this is a 3-day this is a 3-day representation of the sound that goes through the speakers. So you can go ahead and watch this, okay? Yeah.
Yes, sir. What the world been waiting on, man? It's going down. We gon' let you know how we win. Come, hey.
No true peaks or clippings yet. Let's go, baby. I guarantee I just fucking jinxed us.
What the world been waiting on, man? It's going down. We gon' let you know how we win. Come, hey. Going down.
You think you're ready? I think I'm ready.
Going down. What the world been waiting on, man? It's going down. We gon' let you know how we win. Come, hey, right. Who's got me loose? Yo, no patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in the zone line. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh, I'm about to act a fool, yeah. Who's got me loose? Yo, no patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in the zone line. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh, I'm about to act a fool, yeah. Drunk tonight, just got paid. Pocket full of money, what? Okay, I'ma ball till I fall. What? Drink till I can't. Put it on my black card. I got money in the bank. Patrol on the chain, yeah. Drunk and goose. Oh, drink what you want. Go get loose. Like a fool till they cut the lights on. And we still ain't going home till all the liquor gone. I just don't give a fool. Standing on the table with the weed bottle. Drinking out the bottle. Motherfucker, come. I pour it in your mouth. Lean back, open up. Crook ain't dead. You see the chain. And I'm the king, fool. You know my name. Party like a rock star. Oh, like a porn star. I don't give a damn. I don't got the whole bar. Goose got me loose. Yo, no patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in the zone line. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh, I'm about to act a fool, yeah. Goose got me loose. Yo, no patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in the zone line. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh, I'm about to act a fool, yeah. Goose got me loose. Yo, no patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in the zone line. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh, I'm about to act a fool, yeah. Drunk ass mother, ay, throw your hood up. Ay, drunk ass mother, ay, throw your hood up. Ay, drunk ass mother, ay, hold your taste up. Ay, drunk ass mother, ay, hold your taste up. Lay back ass mother, ay, turn your bottle up. Lay back ass mother, ay, turn your bottle up. Throw them stacks up. Ay, right, what? Throw them stacks up. Ay, right, what? Goose got me loose. Yo, no patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in the zone line. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh, I'm about to act a fool, yeah. Goose got me loose. Yo, no patrol. Money in my pocket and I'm all up in the zone line. Ooh, I'ma act a damn fool, yeah. Ooh, I'm about to act a fool, yeah.
Okay, Malcolm, if you're still here, I think we're ready. I think that's pretty good. Ironically, yes, there are 4 parts. 4 parts to which we are clipping, but the clippings, I believe, are vocals. And I'll let those go. Because tweeters can take slightly more abuse, and don't tell the sound boy. So Malcolm, I'll send you this file here soon, and definitely give me some feedbacks. I'm probably too late for you to drop tonight, but you can drop in the morning, and that gives you time for a round of feedback. Cryo, I'm going to go ahead and drop your track in here next to it just to A-B. I see this is released and all that stuff. I won't give you too much like in-depth feedback, but I will give you some stylistic, I guess. Just mod. Yeah, let me give some quick feedback to Cryo. And then same thing. I want downloadable links. Because what I'm doing is I'm dropping them in here next to Malcolm's song, not only for my own sake and Malcolm's sake, but to run it through the same visualization stuff we just had. So, without further ado, we got Cryo other side. You can see we've got a nice fade in, very sausagey as well. I'm going to mute so I can vaporize a little more, and you guys get a nice clean audio. Now, remember, class, we've talked about a variety of things. Let's go ahead and pay attention to a few things. Number one, insight. I don't know if you guys noticed earlier, but this is essentially a graphic EQ in black down here, and then its reflections get painted in orange. And that's why Ganja White Knight does that on their super sick PC, because it looks dank as fuck when they post on. But also, it kind of gives you some cool insight over time on what the pressure might be like on a live venue. So, pay attention to that. Tonal balance control, again, this is Isotope's opinion on what a bass song should look like from a curve standpoint. And then span, we're looking for true peaks and clippings. You know the deal. How do I arrange this shit? Whatever. Let me mute this top one, otherwise God help us.
That's why I'm like FD over song. Real eyes, all those real love. That's why I'm like FD over song. Real eyes, all those real love. I know the gunman in the killer. Killer keeper. That's why I'm like FD over song. Real eyes, all those
I have a weird feeling that you enjoy Effin, the artist, E-F-F-I-N. One of the things I'll point out is that that's a huge, fat fucking wall of sound. Sounds great. Low end is nice. There is one thing I want to address just for safety purposes. You'll notice down here that the True Peak clippings kind of went bonkers. And then over here, the True Peak max is at 2.1 positive decibels. So that means that, like, on a WAV file, if we had 0 decibels, in theory, we'll go into this later in, like, a YouTube video. You've got 2.1 decibels of the frequency coming over that. So on a lot of systems, that's actually going to sound pretty fucking sick. Rhythm artists are doing that a lot. However, if you play on a deeper system or a function system, there's a small chance the sound boy is going to be like, I'm going to punch you in the nuts. So let's take a look and see how we can address that really quick. It is super, super, super fat. Super fat. However, all I'm going to do is move this fruity limiter up to the top. I'm going to switch you out with let's try it with an L2. L2 might catch it right out of the gate. We have True Peak limiting on, oversampling 8x. Boom. So notice that our loudness didn't change. It's I don't know if you guys paid attention. I didn't call it out, but our LUFS earlier was negative 7.2. We lost 0.2 LUFS, but we gained back thousands of clippings. And so that's that trade-off you make with loudness and fidelity. I still dig it. I dig it a lot. I'm just pointing out that, like, on the master, you could add a limiter just to catch some of those clippings.
That's why I'm like empty your facade. That's why I'm like empty your facade. That's why I'm like empty your facade. Gamma ain't a goddess, so shooter in a dealer. I heard a gamma ain't a killer. Can I keep it any real? That's why I'm like empty.
Cryo, I call that out because like the song sounds great and clean, but the only time you notice weird peaks like that is on weird systems. And so I'm willing to bet that you sound checked this in the car and it slaps, but as soon as you like get to a certain volume point, it starts to distort. And so if you dial that back on the master with a limiter and just make sure you're avoiding those true peaks, you can allow even like remember the Pontiac G6 analogy I had earlier? That gives that little woofer time to breathe a little bit. Where when you're going over and getting true peaks, the woofer is in theory, again, air quotes, going beyond its bounds, and like we're into the physics like that doesn't give it enough time to fully retract for the next true zero peak. We got to do a YouTube video, but let's check out the rest. I've interrupted this dude's song like 4 times and it's huge. So I'm going to mute. We're going to listen to drop 2 and I'm going to shut the fuck up. Okay?
That's why I'm like empty your facade. Gamma ain't a goddess, so shooter in a dealer. I heard a gamma ain't a killer. Can I keep it any real? That's why I'm like empty your facade. Bell eyes, red eyes.
Oh, fuck off. That was sick. That was sick. That was our friend Cryo on SoundCloud. That's Who's Cryo. WHOSKRYO. Pretty tight. I don't have any feedback other than the master. Not even saying the master's bad. I'm just saying like look out for clips on the new one, or not new one, but future masters. And you're going to be in good hands. That's fat as fuck. Good shit. I feel like I've favorited one of your tracks before. I'll find it. I'll find it later. But anyway, next up we've got Just Mod. It's called Let's See Final. Holy fuck, sorry for the preview. I spoiled it. Fuck, we need a new song. It's over. Just kidding. So this is Homie on vocal, me producing. So that shit is I love shit. Sorry, I'm reading chat. You're not out of your league, and honestly, you're in good hands because I don't explain my background very well in the bio either. My name is Obey Gray. I'm Charlie Smith out of Cedar Falls, Iowa. I'm the co-founder of Moon Crew Unlimited. We also have Moon Crew Satellite, a sibling label, small labels, don't get me wrong. But Moon Crew Satellite is everything non-EDM. So I've produced my fair share of like pop and country albums, produced, mastered, mixed, yada yada. That's actually where I'm more comfortable, to be honest. Like pop vocals, rap vocals, shit like that. So let's go ahead and check this out. We've got a hella lot of dynamics in here, which is nice. You'll notice on the heavier bass stuff, like Malcolm's track or Cryro's track, we've got more of a sausage because we're looking for that bass heavy shit, and the elements are more pronounced. So keep in mind when people are looking at waveforms, especially in FL Studio, in contrast to Traktor, Traktor colors the waveform. So on here, while this is a sausage, if we were to isolate it to bass on Malcolm's track, it wouldn't be a pure sausage. There's dynamics in there, but it's slapped up against highs. Down here on Let's See Final, you can see that in aggregate, we've actually got some dynamics here. So that'll be pretty tight. It's cool to see that in other genres because it makes things a little more interesting to the ear. Everyone gets a little sick of bass music after so long and listens to something. Everyone has their something. I like Velvet Revolver, not Velvet Underground, Velvet Revolver with Slash. Big tall hat, dude. Shit is sick as fuck. But let's go ahead and check this out. Let me take off the Pro L2. Let's bring up our stuff. Same policy, at least for drop 1. I'm going to try to shut the fuck up. Leave inside open, tonal balance, Ulean, and span. Oh, I messed this up again. Good enough. We don't care about tonal balance for now. So I'm going to mute. Let's check this out. This is homie on vocal, me producing, Just Mod. Such an amateur, dude. Good shit on those vocals, dude.
Keep forgetting tears I've cried.
Did you record those?
You and smile. 'Cause I think that we should work it out. You think that there's too many doubts, too many doubts, and you want to get out. Yeah, I think that we should work it out. You think that there's too many doubts, too many doubts, and you want to get out. Oh, so if this is the last day, so dance. If this is the last call, then I go. If this is the last night, I sure ain't gonna waste it. All of my heart knows, someone knows, I'm gonna hold on, so. If this is the last night, I sure ain't gonna waste it. I'm just gonna dance like never before. Dance like.
All right, I can't resist. We're pausing it there because this is delicious, Just Mod. Oh, that gives me goosebumps in a good way. Okay, so notes so far. Like, no outright feedback notes, but some stylistic, like, comments. I want to listen to it again. What I was typing over here is I was looking up Kevin Rudolph, the guy who wrote Let It Rock. Being that you're from Denmark and Norway, I'm not sure, like, if you're familiar, but there was, like, right when I was coming of age, mid-2000s, the mid-aughts, as the trendy people say, Kevin Rudolph and gang, like, fucking revolutionized the rap-pop crossover by using EDM and dance beats as the bridge. And this reminds me a lot of that heyday where, like, this is going to sound so imperialistic, but, like, that over-the-top American optimism communicated in New York dance music beats, which sounds trendy, but I mean, like, every word there. Listen to this again, and folks that, like, were around back then, think of beats like Let It Rock or those other Kevin Rudolph New York guitar beats, because this has that same smooth feel.
Will be hard to let you go. It's so got them hard to face and know that I keep forgetting tears I've cried. I wanna remember you and smile. Cause I think that we should work it out. You think that there's too many doubts, and you want to get out. Yeah, I think that we should work it out. You think that there's too many doubts, and you want to get out. Oh, so if this is the last day, so dance. If this is the last call, then I go. If this is the last night, I sure ain't gonna waste it. Out of my heart knows I'm alone. I'm gonna hold on for my soul. If this is the last night, I sure ain't gonna waste it. I'm just gonna dance like never before. I'm just gonna dance like never before. I'm just gonna dance like never before.
You catch everything I did there? Ugh. Okay, let's listen again. So you very clearly have like a nice, clear, radio-friendly master. That master's ready to rock. Honestly, it's ready to rock. I don't have any stylistic feedback. I don't know if it was loops or you did the drum programming yourself, but fucking that shit's really good. I really like the kick rolls and some of the snare rolls. So what I did here is you have a really nice smooth master at -12. That's literally by definition clear channel radio, the big radio conglomerate in America. That is radio ready, literally ready for the radio. Their limiter will gas you all the way up. But for argument's sake, if I were to give it the Charlie boost with respect to EDM, I halved that and got us to -6.2. Let's listen back and see if we like it. And then I'll break down what I did really fast. I'll keep tweaking.
I know we can say we didn't try. I know we can say we're happy now, but I keep forgetting tears I've cried. I wanna remember you and smile. Cause I think that we should work it out. You think that there's too many doubts, and you want to get out. Yeah, I think that we should work it out. You think that there's too many doubts, and you want to get out. Oh, so if this is the last day, so dance. If this is the last call, then I go. If this is the last night, I sure ain't gonna waste it. Out of my heart knows I'm alone. I'm gonna hold on for my soul. If this is the last night, I sure ain't gonna waste it. I'm just gonna dance like never before. Dance like. Will be hard to let you go. It's so got the heart to face and know that I keep forgetting tears I've cried. I wanna remember you and smile. Cause I think that we should work it out. You think that there's too many doubts, and you want to get out. Yeah, I think that we should work it out. You think that there's too many doubts, and you want to get out. Oh, so if this is the last day, so dance. If this is the last call, then I go.
Dude, this is gas.
I sure ain't gonna waste it.
Thank you for subscribing, but This is gas. Like, chain smokers wish they had this kind of shit. For real.
Wasted. I'm just gonna dance like never before. Wasted. I'm just gonna dance like never before.
That was sick. That was sick as fuck. I don't know if the music drowns me out, but I'm serious. It's clear you're influenced by chain smokers, but like, while they have a monster, literally a 12-person plus writing team to get those hooks down, if I'm understanding this correctly, the two of you nailed that. So like, hang on to that sound. Spike, I don't know if you're still watching, but he knows that I've been standing the Bruno Mars album all week, Silk Sonic. I've got a custom t-shirt coming. Should be here on Monday. I'm such a fan of Bruno Mars and his team and how they handle pop music. It's pretty fuck crazy. Pretty fuck crazy. But otherwise, I think that's what we've got for feedback today. Let me drag in one of my files, one of my latest tunes, and we'll see what I've been doing. We'll listen to that, and then we'll probably call it a day. After the stream, Just Mod, I'll render this out and send you some shits. And Malcolm as well. I owe Malcolm stuff. What should I show y'all? Probably want to see a project file, to be frank. To stream .fe. Put you here, Dave. All right, that's just to make sure I don't lose the shit I have just done with y'all. So this comes with a disclaimer. I'm gonna open some project files, and none of these are stream optimized. By stream optimized, I mean they might run like dog shit. The vast majority of them actually have fucking mastering plugins on. So let's check it out, and this will be our final thing for the night. Liberations or Hellhounds? Liberations or Hellhounds? I don't want to show Hellhounds, mostly because I've fucking got to get it done. The song's so far overdue. It's like unreal how overdue this song is. I sent the demo to the record label literally, Jesus, like 6 months ago. They're like, fuck yeah, we'll take this. And I'm like, oh. And now we're here. Told you. Like, see, why am I even running Neutron? What is, like, what? The ironic thing is, all these waves, half of them are shade samples, and the other half, notice they're just unlabeled pattern wave outs. Pattern 4, number 2. Fuck. Why did I not label this shit? That means I rendered like half these basses out ahead of time for some reason. Yeah, why are you rendered? Holy shit. You guys want to check out, like, in my opinion, that's a pretty fat 808. So really, the way I do these 808s is it's Nicky Romero Kick, which is a pretty cheap plugin these days, I think. And that's just an 808 generator. And a lot of people don't understand that, like, you can throw an 808 on a note, but a longer 808 fluctuates over time. So on here, the thing I like about Kick is that not only it's a drum synthesizer, but it also, see how we have a pitch on here? So the bass pitch is pegged to 5470. I don't know what that means, but if you move it around, it moves around the bass notes over here. So you can see that when it hits, the impact or the transient here is coming in on E6. Then it slides down to B3, C1, maintains on C1. So I like that because you can not only tune your kicks, but you can tune your kicks over time. And then what I did here is I made the length 1.8 seconds, I think. It's pretty long. Yeah. And then I added the basic distortion all the way up, tone and mix to half. And then click pre-distortion means we still get our transient without the distortion going on there. And then last but not least, it's assigned to the kick group. And it appears that I'm running all of my kicks on this song through a Rift distortion plugin, which is kind of comical. Let's A/B this. As you can see, it makes a big difference. Rift, in my opinion, if you can still get the early access price, is well worth it. One plugin I'll never pirate. I paid for all of their sample packs over here, Emerge and shit. Sorry, that was loud as fuck, but also, good lord, how sick. Like, dude, all of their plugins are just... woo! Dirty. But then what else do we have here? We have pattern 3. What are you doing? But believe it or not, that's a Vital patch. Hold on. Okay, let's pull this up, Vital. Apparently I made this. I fully expected to open this and see like someone's cliche presets. Nope. I made it and called it Yerba Mate 2 Yeah Obey Vocal Bass. In my opinion, none of that seems descriptive, but... Okay, so I definitely have some processing on. Let's check that out. So let's quickly talk about how I structure my files, because this honestly changed the game for me personally when it came to production. I used to just assign shit willy-nilly to the mixer rack. And for those who are Ableton heads, I produce half my EPs in Ableton as well. I usually don't cover them on stream, because it's a big struggle for me. But I'm still going to try to explain it in a way that you understand as well. So, after watching the Ahi tutorial on Skrillex bus mastering, it made me realize that when it comes to gain staging, we're doing ourselves a disservice by just putting everything on one mixer rack and then sending it to the master. We're losing a lot of ability there to do some gain staging or take care of some things. And so FL in their recent version actually added a plugin called Frequency Splitter. And Frequency Splitter, in my opinion, changed the game. So what I do is, on here I've got my master, then I've got my pre-master. A lot of shit runs to this pre-master, almost all of my buses. What that does is it lets me get a really nice whip I put on Facebook. Remember we were talking about soft clipping? 9 times out of 10 my Facebook whips are just a fruity soft clipper, I think on, yeah, like just dialed in a little bit, and that's it. On my pre-master I also produce with an EQ on full mono. This is the stereo curve. I pull it all the way down, and honestly, I swear to God, for real, I produce or start almost all my songs with a mono EQ on the pre-master. I find that you fall in love with your song a lot more when you hit that first brick wall and you turn off the mono thing. You're going to hear some huge stereo problems that you've been ignoring, but you're also going to be like, holy fuck, this song is gorgeous. I love it. I can't get enough of it. And it honestly, when you're writing percussions or bass, producing in mono at first lets you identify a lot of issues that I don't deal with anymore later on because I addressed it so early, I guess. Moving on, we've got our drum bus. All of our drums come in here. Quite often I'll put New York compression on it if it's a trap style song. Synth bus, all of our synths come in here. Now this is what I'm talking about, where I've got a few synths in here. They all have different effects on them, different effects racks, but I need more than one because of shit like this. So I like to, in my songs stylistically, I like to pretend as though some of the track is on the left side of a DJM, some of the track is on the right, and it's a literal DJ pulling filters or EQ curves around. So to help enable that, I need a bus where I can just have those effects and effects affecting EFFECTING, a group or a subgroup of things. So on this, I might be EQing my synths separately, but they're all going to the synth bus, which I'm using a filter on. You'll see a tape stop on there and a reverb, something I want to apply to all of my synths. Also, that's important because I'll come back and add a compressor here later on. Effects bus, that's blank. Who gives a shit? Vocal bus, vocals. Usually I have distortion on there for shade style stuff. But this is where we get into the meat of it. What I really wanted to talk about is bass 1. So bass 1 routes to pre-master, which routes to master. But bass 1 has no plugins on, as you can see, but it has a frequency splitter. This frequency splitter takes anything routed to bass 1 and splits out the lows to this one, the mids to this one, and the highs to this one. So you've probably already noticed that I dialed in significantly different gain structures here, but also I'm shaping the transient with Neutron 3 on the low end. I believe that's the kick drums at some point. The mid-range is getting OTT. Remember we were doing OTT to crisp things up for Malcolm earlier? This is just doing it higher up in the chain. We've got trash, rift turned on at about 20%, and then some reverb, but only on the mids. I like to reverb the mids of my mid bass and not the highs or the lows because it gives you almost like the homeopathic version of the sound rather than the sound itself, which gives you a lot more room in the frequency spectrum. For like, imagine a frequency spectrum of your song is a hot dog. You only have so much room to stuff stuff into the hot dog. So if you can get away with the same effect with smaller room in the hot dog, bigger sausage, my man. Bigger sausage. The high of the bass has nothing on there. And then I do the same thing. I usually have 2 entire bass racks with submasters. So all of these later on, don't get me wrong, would be routed over here, which then get routed to one of these, which then gets routed to this, which then gets routed to the master. And it might sound complex, but you can find a way to set this up as a template. I have mine as a template right here. And once you do that, and once you upgrade it once every couple of months, you're in good hands. So I explained all of that just to show that that enables me to take a very mundane looking project file like this and make it sound, in my opinion, pretty cool. Let's see if Liberations loads. Holy fuck, it did. I mean, yeah, that's Liberations. I guess my point here is showing just how simple these projects really can and should be, in my opinion. This one's just a single bass patch using a ton of that processing we were talking about, but notice that I've got 3 Serum automations, and then the bass bus itself has a ladder filter that's moving around. So let's check out the processing on pattern 10 quick. So that's another secret of mine, is that I use Sublab for a lot of my basses. Sublab is the shit. So it looks like I'm just running pattern 10 as a single note bomber, which is always fun. Nice clean sub bass. Let's go down to intro synth pattern. That's where our mid bass is coming from, I think. Yeah. So notice already, if I isolate that on its own, how less impactful it is. Hear it in the song, in context. So part of the reason they're breathing together so nicely is that they're set on side chains, but as far as I remember, they're set on different side chains. So listen again and notice that the sub bass actually takes longer to recover from the side chain than the mid bass does, and it actually slots them together kind of nicer. Takes a second, it goes dong bomb, bong ba, you know? Does that make sense? That's what a normal sane person would say. And then another secret of mine is just long slides in Serum. We can check that out real quick. Intro synth 2, yeah. So I watched a Quack Tuts tutorial, I think, and then I was trying to emulate a Alex Perez noise. So that means I called it Obey Gray 2021 bass Quack Tuts Perez. Anyway, we've got a sub turned on, which is kind of weird because we're either cutting off all the sub bass or we're playing it high enough that it doesn't fucking matter. Kind of weird. A bunch of macros set up. Effects wise, we've got the cliche touch of hyper. Tube distortion set to the mid-range with drive all the way fucking way up. And then if I recall, yeah, frequency splitter's doing some work here. So okay, so this is what's happening. There's definitely a sub tied to that, but notice we've got bass 1 low, almost all the way off, and it's side chained. Side chained hard as fuck, and that's frequency side chaining, track spacer. We'll talk about that someday in the future, but that's different than amplitude side chaining. Then we've got Rift adding beef, OTT of course, and then ladder filter for the DJM style sweeps. And then Bass high. I like to put camel fat on it. This is probably on cut the mid. Watch this shit. Fuck, it's on 4-bar comb fall. I look like an idiot. So that's just there for effects and then reverb. But yeah. I think that's pretty much all I've got for the gang tonight. I'm gonna log off and do these renders for Medicine Place. That's Malcolm. That's the whole reason we're here. If you guys haven't checked them out, check out Medicine Space Place, Spotify, YouTube. Maybe not YouTube. Spotify, SoundCloud, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, probably. Then we had Cryo in the chat. We had Sig Kill. We had Christian in the chat. We had Jake, the Low and High gang as well. Just Mod. Gonna get a render out for him. Them. Otherwise, I thank you all for joining me. This has been a fun adventure, 2.5 hours. I might do these more regularly if you enjoy them. If you do enjoy them, let me know somehow. Otherwise, thanks for being here, and let me find something to kick you to. I don't expect you to stick around, but I think I got something here. Ah, yes. Cheers. Love y'all.
You know, they say that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And what I think is beautiful is that in 1 trillion years, all atoms will slowly come to a rest, and dark matter will continue to expand, and everything will slowly cease into ice floating through nothingness. We call that the singularity. Starship Lilac was the first ship to arrive here. Others say it was the last. All I know, however, is that this isn't the end. It's just the beginning.